in Sag Harbor. There's a synagogue there, and I teach kids that are, I think, 11 to 13 years old, 6th to 8th grade. It's very challenging, but kids this age are, you can talk to them more like an adult, so I'm very down to earth with them. You know, I kind of tell them how it is. I don't sugarcoat things, and I give them a lot of freedom to have the space and free time, and then try to refocus them on what we're working on. It's nothing, you know, they have to learn the language, how to read the language for their bar and bat mitzvahs. It's basically, Hebrew's very phonetic. If they recognize the letter, it makes a sound and it doesn't change. Like in English, you have the letter A that can be like a. I would teach them to write because I used to do calligraphy in Hebrew, and I learned Hebrew I was actually in a newspaper, on the cover of a local newspaper where I grew up as a kid, or in New Jersey, South Orange, New Jersey. Always fallen into my jobs that I've had. When I moved out here and I kind of was like, I needed something to do, you know, my uncle said, go get your real estate license. So I did that. And then a friend of mine started a firm, invited me, hey, you should be an agent, you have your license. So I just did that. And the school thing, like, a friend of mine was like, oh, you should substitute. Because at the time, before real estate, I had nothing to do in the winter because like the restaurants were closed and stuff. Oh, you should just go substitute. So I just went into Springs and they're like, yeah, we need a sub, here you go. It wasn't like I applied and did this whole formality thing. It was just, I think the timing was right. They needed someone. And then a position opened up, and it was with a student who I was like, I had already been in that classroom many times, and they kind of were like, you should just, you can have this job. I mean, I had to like apply informally, like as a formality, but they were like, it's your role. Sort of how it came out. So I fell into that position, and then that was within the school, becoming an assistant and all that stuff. And then the real estate thing happened. I just sort of fell into that. And then the Hebrew school thing, somebody knew me, I can't remember who, and introduced me to the person at the synagogue, and they were like, okay, you can do this. It wasn't like I applied, I sought it out. I think my original career, if you were to ask me in high school or earlier, I was going to be in the restaurant business. I'm going to own my own restaurant. I don't know, you know what? I don't know what else I would do to earn money. I would not ever want to live, I couldn't picture myself in a cubicle in the city. I love the restaurant business. I thrive on the energy, but you have no time for anything. You have no life, you're working from like noon to midnight, so you lose a life in that business. The only thing is, like, during the day, like, I do get to play tennis during the day. I do get to, like, hop in the beach. But, everything you do, your phone is constantly being buzzed and interrupted by. I have a couple people from the West Coast, and they're, like, calling me, and it's, like, 9 o'clock at night, and I'm just, like, I'm done. But you're also, like, that's their, it is still the service industry, right? People's time. So everyone's like, oh, well, you only work during the week. I'm like, no, because everyone works Monday through Friday, so after hours is when we work. But we have to prepare, during the week. So, I mean, during the COVID, few years, we worked like 24/7. I mean, it was just nonstop. So now it's not that bad anymore, but, your weird times you have to do stuff. Like, there's a few people you get that take advantage of your time, for lack of better words, but it's the nature of the business. People are spending millions of dollars. They should be excited about that money that they're spending. It's like one of the biggest purchases they'll make in their life. Unless you're like buying and selling Twitter, it's the most expensive thing. So you want them to feel comfortable and excited, and that's like Kevin and I have a thing where if he's away, I'm here, and if I'm away, he's here. But I mean, you just have to do it. Like you can't. My parents have always said, they're like, the hardest part is getting something, but you'll always figure out how to pay it back. Like, it's hard to buy a house, but once you get it, then you'll pay it back. It's getting it. It's hard to get into school and figure out what, but once you get in, you'll figure out how to pay it back. You just do your best. Whatever you're doing, like, it's getting there that's hard, and then you'll find a way to take care of the rest. Like, I don't teach religion. I teach how to read Hebrew as a language, and I'll teach them the facts, the stories, the traditions of a holiday, right? I'm just teaching them, like, let's call it textbook, right? And when the kids ask questions about, like, God, or, that's the best example, and I say, I'm not here to tell you what to believe or what to not believe. I'm here to teach you values and to teach you, it's about being a good person, right? It's about, like, treating others the way you want to be treated, understanding what there is, and take out of it what you want and what's good for you and what you believe. Because you can't teach someone what to believe. Or I don't think you can teach someone what to believe, and you can't. And how do you know what's right and wrong? Well, I think it's very relative for people. Home, the term home. This is very weird. Home for me, right? I mean, this is my home. The Hamptons. It's my home now. But when I'm coming back, if I go to the city or Jersey, wherever I go, when I make that turn after the Princess Diner, and you pass Pumpkin Town, and then you turn into Watermill, the road turns a little bit, and as soon as you see that the windmill, I feel like I'm home. And for me, like, everywhere else is like the hustle and bustle, the city, the lights. Mm-hmm. Here, it's dark. I have to say, I go back to my parents, where I grew up in New Jersey, or I go into the city, or I go everywhere else. It's light. It's like the sky is not black at night. When I come here, and that for some reason when I'm driving, and most of the time I drive at night, just for traffic reasons, and when I make that turn, like, that's the moment where, like, there's like a calmness, like, it's mental. There is a physical, because the lights change, the road lights, the overhead road lights change. Mm-hmm. The view changes. You can see the sky, you can see the stars. The moon rises, and if depending on the time, the moon's rising right over there. There's like open field, you can see it. And so, like, that darkness, that calmness is like home for me. Like, if I'm traveling, coming from the airport, you're like, there's lights everywhere, on the LIE, on the Sunrise Highway, like, it's bright. It's not, there's traffic, there's lots of cars, and you hit that point and it's like calmer. Heavy traffic times aside, and it's really hard to explain, and it's me, and I'm home. When I'm going, like, to where I grew up, like, as soon as I get off the highway and I get onto, like, one side road, I'm like, mm-hmm. Okay, that's home there. I guess home is wherever you are, but I think there's a feeling, I don't know. I mean, home is where you make your home, right? You have to create it, you have to build it, you can't just walk into something and be like, I'm home. Yeah, I was very lucky. I couldn't have done it without the help of, family, friends, and, I don't know if I was lucky or if I just, like, right place at the right time, or you create your luck, right? I guess you do create it. I found my house like anyone else. I went on the internet, I saw a listing, went to go see it. The agents who had the listing that I bought, they certainly helped me out. They did. It took a long time to get a mortgage, There was a lot of, like, what's going on? And the sellers were like, no, find another buyer, so I was very lucky that, like, the people, like, knew me, and, I represented myself in the transaction on my side, for the buyer, and the sellers had an agent, and so I was very fortunate about that. One of the agents, one of my best friends bought his house from that same agent and was with me when I went to see the house, so, like, connections like that were, so I guess you kind of, it was meant to be. I will say that. I think it really was. I love it. I do love my house, and when I'm there, I feel home.